Not every off-camera flash purchase out there is going to be a wise one, actually just gear in general, but I wanted to go over specifically off-camera flash related gear purchases that I regret in today's video and why I regretted those purchases. One thing I wanted to ask you guys is if you have any sort of off-camera flash related purchases that you regret, you should definitely let me know what they are in the comment section below while I tell you about today's sponsor, which is Adorama. Adorama is an industry-leading retailer that has been serving photography, videography, and audio customers for almost 50 years now. Their motto is everyone is a creator, including yourself, and they do their best to unleash that creator within us all by providing us with the tools and expertise necessary to get the job done. I personally shop at Adorama for both the great deals on products that I use and recommend, but also the great customer service on those products as well. If you find yourself interested in any product that I talk about in today's video, check out the links that will be in the description area below, and be sure to use those links if you decide to order. The very first item on this list is going to be this very cheap light stand that I got on Amazon a couple years ago. I think I got a pack of 3 for around $40, maybe even less. And I don't even know the brand. I wish I could tell you guys the brand so you guys can avoid it. But this doesn't even have any sort of brands, you know, it doesn't have any naming on it. But I can tell you that this cheap light stand is just too poorly made, and that's why I regret it. You can see on this part on the top, the spigot, I believe it's called, it's very scratched up and I didn't even use it that much. I think I might have attached an S2 bracket onto it and that's pretty much it. But you can see that it's very wobbly, and that's because I've already tightened it, the screw right here, so it became loose over some time. But yeah, this light stand is just poorly made. It scratches very easily. It doesn't have a good height to it. And then I think I actually want to show you guys the leg actually goes out. It's not supposed to do that. There's supposed to be a screw right here, and the screw fell off randomly at, you know, some point in time after I purchased it, but it's not supposed to do that. I bought that light stand for the purpose of showing you guys that you can take good images with cheap gear like cheap light stand, light, softbox, camera, and lens. But if I were to make that video in the future, I would definitely say to use a little bit of your budget to get a good, decent light stand, because the cheap ones, they're just gonna fall apart on you. The second item on this list is gonna be the ProMaster Variable ND filter that I used in 2016 that ruined an entire photo shoot while I was out of town. Long story short, I wanted to do a photo shoot while I was in Austin, and I set up a photo shoot with a model that I worked with before who lived there and some photographers who were in that area, but they used lighting equipment that didn't have high-speed sync, which is a feature that I use for a certain look in my images using wide apertures in the daytime. And so I needed to use an ND filter to achieve that type of look in my images. And I bought one at a local camera store. I want to say it was Precision Camera, but basically I bought an ND filter. I thought it would be pretty decent because it wasn't cheap. It was around $90 to $100. And my knowledge of ND filters back then was pretty good. I knew that if you buy a cheap ND filter, then you might get soft images or color cast images. So I thought I would be fine using this variable ND filter since it was $90 to $100. Unfortunately, that's not what happened, and every image that I took was soft. Even though the camera did show that it was in focus on where I wanted it to be in focus, like the eyes, you know, it would light up green, you know, the boxes or whatever, it wasn't in focus. So I would have been better off manually focusing or doing something else rather than relying on my camera and the ND filter to say that, oh yeah, the image is in focus, so totally take the shot, don't worry about it, it's gonna be in focus. I want to say it's because of that incident that I still am very much the type of photographer that will zoom in on the image after you take it to make sure it's in focus. Even though I totally trust the gear now, I still haven't gotten over that photo shoot where I wish I had just reviewed the images at the time of taking the photos, because those images were soft and I only found out about it when I went to my computer and I reviewed the images. This right here is the third item on the list. It's the Peter Hurley Westcott H2 Pro, I think it's called. I don't know, it's basically a sandbag that doesn't use sand, it uses water. So it should be a little bit easier in terms of filling it up because we all have water at our homes. But I just don't like how big and floppy it is, if that makes any sense. It's definitely a personal preference thing. I have nothing against Peter Hurley himself. He's an awesome guy, but I'm just not a fan of this product. I feel like something like this Manfrotto weight right here, I feel like this is very heavy and compact and it takes up less space, and I would rather go ahead and just purchase another Manfrotto weight rather than the Westcott weight. In order to attach 2 of these Westcott Pro bags together, you do need to zip them together, I believe, and I'm just not a fan of using the zippers and stuff. I just feel like, you know, the water weight part of it was good in theory, but it feels very much like anybody who has ever been on a water bed, I feel like it's good in theory, but it's just too floppy and just messy, and I'm just not a fan of that. One thing that I was thinking that I could use this water weight for is at the end of my photo shoots, if I wanted to cool down a little bit, because it is hot here in Texas, that I could just pour the water on my face. And I actually did do that one time, but it was just hot water. So if I did want to cool down at the end of a photo shoot, then I should just get, you know, a cooler with a water bottle in it and have a towel ready and just pour it on my face and dry off that way. But I was just basically thinking of ways how I could use this water weight instead of its intended purpose, because I felt like it was too complicated. This right here is my Photek Softlighter, which I believe is around 33 inches, that I bought in 2013 or 14 because I was watching Annie Leibovitz's work at the time, and she was using Photek Softlighters. And you know, her work is nice, but I do regret this purchase because I feel like it's just too complicated. When it comes to modifiers in general, I just don't like umbrellas so much because I feel like they just spray the light all over. There's no real control aspect to it. And I feel like on windy days, they're just gonna catch wind easier compared to a softbox, so that's just not gonna be helpful. So I just have this preference towards softboxes. One thing I definitely do gotta mention about this Softlighter is the diffusion on it. It is, again, complicated. It has circles on the diffusion that you have to attach to every different rod on this umbrella, and it's just more complicated than it is with my softboxes. When it comes to my softboxes, I just have both diffusion panels on the softbox, and I just open up the softbox and they're both ready to go, and it's just much easier than it is with this Photek Softlighter. I distinctly remember watching one specific YouTube video on YouTube about how to set up the Photek Softlighter when it comes to using it with strobes, and it does have a good amount of views, like 11,000 or so over the past 5 or 6 years, because of how complicated it is to set up this Photek Softlighter. So I'm not the only one, and if you guys have a Photek Softlighter, if you used it before, definitely let me know if I'm crazy or not, or if you agree that it is just too convoluted and complex to set up. This is the Canon 430 EX2 speedlight that I bought in, I believe, 2012 or 2013, and I regret this purchase specifically because of the price, not its performance so much, but the price. I bought it at Walmart for $239.99 on sale, and it was just so expensive to me at that point. I was very much a broke college student at the time that I bought it, and I think it was less than a year later that I found out about alternatives that were much cheaper and did the same thing. So I regret this purchase specifically because of the price. Nowadays, there's lots of different options out there in terms of lighting that are different price levels, but back then I didn't have an extensive knowledge of different lighting options, and there actually wasn't a lot of different options out there back then. So I didn't know about the alternatives that I ended up buying less than a year later, which were the Yongnuo 562 speedlights and the transmitters for them. So I ended up buying less than a year after buying this expensive $214 speedlight. I bought, I think it was 2 or 3 Yongnuo 562s, transmitters and receivers for those speedlights. I think I even bought an umbrella or a softbox and a light stand for less than the total cost of this single Canon speedlight. I was hesitant to add this speedlight to this list because I don't want you guys to think that I'm just bashing Canon. I've used Canon products for many years and I totally was fine with them. This speedlight is actually good performing, but again, when it comes to different options out there and something that's going to be a better option for somebody who was broke like I was back then, it was just a better option for me to just invest my money in those alternatives rather than spending all that money on this one speedlight. Even though I still do have this Canon speedlight and I could use it with my other Godox lights right now if I wanted to, using the receiver for the Canon speedlights to use with Godox lights, it's not to say that I enjoy this purchase. I do very much regret it because of that price, but I'm very much a person that might buy something expensive, and then if I bought it at a certain, let's say $1,000 or let's say $240, I don't want to sell it at a lower price, let's say like $50, because I feel like I'm just missing out on money. I'm losing money. So I might as well just keep it rather than sell it at a much lower price. I feel like I'm just that type of person. Maybe you guys are, let me know if you are. And that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys have any purchases that you regret that are related to Ocarina Flash, let me know in the comment section below because I'm very, very curious. I want to give one last thanks to Adorama for sponsoring this video because when they do that, it allows me to keep making free content for you guys. So definitely check out Adorama. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the very next video.